PowerPoint in my research and planning section of the project because I used it for my timed analyses and textual analyses. I then uploaded them to SlideShare where I was able to get the embedding code and put it into my Blogger. I also used a font in the production of my digipack as I was looking for a font that more accurately and cohesively linked with my themes and aesthetic. I downloaded the fonts online and then opened them into Photoshop to make my digipack. My other ancillary product was the website, which I produced using Wix. Wix is a website design company that provides templates instead of having to code one yourself. I then changed all of the information, colours and attachments on the website so that it became my own.
I was in charge of editing the music video, and one of the main things that we wanted to include was an overlay. This overlay was a pastel pinky colour, and I did this by creating a title screen, then manipulating the linear gradient so that it was pink at the top and purple at the bottom, and then they kind of merged into one in the middle. As well as this, I had three main editing effects on each of the clips, which was the three-way colour corrector, which was in charge of the shadows, midtones and highlights, the fast colour corrector, which I used for white balance in each of the clips, and the luma curve, which controlled the brightness of each of the sequences. InDesign was also a new software that we all had to learn how to use, which was used in the creation of our ancillary task for the digipack. Learning a new software is very interesting, and InDesign itself is a good publication software. The closest experience I've had with this previously is things like Microsoft Publisher, and they work kind of similarly. Mainly the obstacles that we faced were pretty much formatting images and working with layers. So the templates that we got from one of the websites that created digipack templates, we had to pretty much format how we wanted everything to look and how we wanted it printed, and the layers at the side were kind of judging how we wanted things to show up and what would be on top of the other images and what would be on the bottom. Finally, I was also in charge of social media. Specifically, we used Instagram to document our progress throughout the creation of our video. We finished with 28 followers, and that consisted of on our page we had loads of different videos, panorama shots, boomerang shots and pictures, and it was a great way to showcase what happens behind the scenes so that the audience were able to get a more personal feel when they were watching the video.
I used Prezi for a large amount of my research to showcase it on my blog. I like Prezi because where you can use templates or make your own designs. The templates are all really good. I particularly like the record template because that was really handy for all my digipack analysis because it fit the theme of music, and I thought that was quite cool and it added like an extra element to my research piece, making it more visually entertaining. I prefer it over PowerPoint because there's a way that it translates better on the blog, because sometimes when you upload a file onto SlideShare you lose a bit of the quality diminishes, but with Prezi you don't have that issue and it makes it a much more enjoyable experience for the viewer, so that's why I really like Prezi. I experimented further with Photoshop this year to make my digipack. I finished it on InDesign, but the majority of the components were put together in Photoshop and then transferred out. So I used the colour dropper tool so that I could get the same shade of pink on all of my sides of the digipack. I also used the mask tool when making my disc so that I could select areas and just colour that whole disc area, then select another area and fill that in, and select another area and fill that in to get really nice clean cut circles on my disc, just to add to the finished effect. I really enjoyed the fact that you could always get the same brush size, so I used 81 on all the little dots that are on the cover of my digipack and on the inside of the cover, on the lyric section. That was really nice. And I actually enjoyed the range of fonts that were used and found that I didn't have to get any externally because the ones that I found on Photoshop were perfect for what I wanted to achieve with my cover, so that was really nice and Photoshop was really good to use. I was in charge of cinematography for the whole music video, so I shot everything on a Nikon D5-300 camera, which is a DSLR. The aspects that made this really enjoyable to use was the fact that it has a flip screen, so that when our director, who was acting in a few of the shots, was acting, I could just flip the screen around to show her and she could review the shots, make sure everyone was in frame how she wanted them to be, and I could flip the screen back, and whilst I was shooting it, I was able to make sure that nothing moved out of shot, and it was really easy just to be able to flip between who wanted to view it. That was really nice. I also brought my MacBook on the set, and which has a SD card reader slot built into the side of it. This meant that we could review all the footage before we moved locations, or even if we weren't sure if something had come out properly, because the DSLR has quite a small screen, but on the Mac you can see everything's in focus, and we had to reshoot some scenes and it made it a lot easier instead of having to get back to college, plug the SD card into an SD card reader, plug that into the Mac, load up Premiere Pro. This was just much easier and more effective to be able to do it on the move, and made shooting a much easier task.